Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel. May 3rd, 2018.
Warning: The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, author of Liberalism is a Mental Disorder, Trump's War, and God, Faith, and Reason, Michael Savage.
Ivanka Trump, I think I would get on my Charger and go right into their offices with a lance if they go after Ivanka. If they do Ivanka, which I doubt they will, the whole country will turn on him. They're going after his daughter. Jared is a fine man, you know that. But men are, disposable. But a fine woman like Ivanka, come on.
Tom, wait a minute. I'm talking about a cop that's mixed up in drugs. I'm talking about a dishonest cop, a crooked cop who got mixed up in the rackets and got what was coming. That's a terrific story. And we have newspaper people on the payroll, don't we, Tom? They might like a story like that.
They might. They just might.
Ladies and gentlemen, the whole country is not as obsessed with the White House as you may think, but a good portion of you are obsessed with what went on last night on Harvey Wallbanger's television show. Wallbanger is a ratings whore who will stop at nothing to get a ratings point. He almost destroyed Don Jr., in my opinion. Remember when he had Don Jr. on and I said on this show, Don, get off that show? You're getting dragged down a road you can never come back from. He did it again last night. He led Giuliani down a road. Giuliani unto himself sounded like he was not all there. In fact, the entire conversation between Giuliani and the nail gun sounded like an FBI wiretap of the Ravenite Social Club, not a legitimate television interview. It sounded like two guys on an FBI wiretap in the Ravenite Social Club rather than a TV interview. So what the heck is going on? I ask myself, and I'll ask you the same question. He calls Jared Kushner a disposable. Is Giuliani hurting or helping Trump? Why did Giuliani throw Kushner to the wolves? Was Wallbanger leading Giuliani to attack Jared Kushner? Could it be that Mueller, and I'm saying could be, am I allowed to ask the question? We know that the nail gun is being investigated for the 978 properties. That's a well-known fact. I didn't invent it. Nail gun's 978 properties are being investigated. Is it possible, using your imagination and your mind and your analytical abilities, to say to yourself, wait a minute now, knowing how things work, could it be that Mueller threatened the nail gun and that nail gun is now working with him to bring down Trump? Am I not allowed to even speculate, given what just happened last night? Well, I'll leave it to you if you want to call on these topics. I think they're big topics. Obama gave $150 billion to Iran to build a nuclear weapon, and we're supposed to worry about $130,000 to a dirty whore. Isn't that wonderful how America is so obsessed because of Andy Cooper with the clear glasses? Andy Cooper, one of the cleanest individuals in the history of the media, is obsessed with a hooker, not obsessed with Obama giving $150 billion to the mullahs to build a nuclear weapon and get away with it. But that's the world we live in. And so we have to live in the world that we made. We permit these dirtbags to do this to us. We permit the lowest minds of our generation to make more money than God should be making and to drag America into the sewer with them. So let's go into the sewer together. Is Giuliani hurting or helping Trump? Why did Giuliani throw Kushner to the wolves? Was Wallbanger leading Giuliani to attack Jared Kushner? If so, why? Could it be that Mueller threatened Wallbanger over the real estate deals and that Wallbanger is now working with him and he's been turned? These are some of the questions that I think are worth talking about, but many of you don't even know what I'm talking about. Many of you have no idea what I've just even asked you. You don't even know the story because you don't watch the news obsessively like those of us in the news business do. And yet many people are talking about it. They're stunned at Giuliani's slurring last night. They're asking, was he drunk? I'm just telling you what people are emailing and asking. Was he a drunk? Today he came up like Mr. Clean Cat. Last night it was like Mr. Slur, like he just came from Ray House on a bender. And he went on the air with his good buddy. And then today he was all cleaned up on a coffee. He tried to cover up what he did last night. But why does anyone trust Wallbanger? He did this to Don Jr., he did it to Giuliani, and he has a desk in the White House. Does anyone not understand this? Well, anyway, I mean, there are people in the media, not Wallbanger, of course, because he's a great American. But there are people in the television media who, if their mother was dying of stage 4 cancer, they would go to the hospital with a camera and film her in a death agony for a ratings point. Do you understand how vicious the media is in this country? Do you understand how low it has become? It's not a soap opera anymore. It's something beyond the soap opera. There's no soap and there's no opera in this. This is just plain debasement of the human spirit. But I'll talk about it. You think that Giuliani was out to hurt Trump, or he just made a mistake? I don't know. What do you think? Let's see what we read here. But Giuliani contradicted both Cohen and Trump yesterday, just 1 month after the president told reporters aboard Air Force One he was not aware of the payment. Giuliani, look, yesterday I went on the air yesterday. Did I not say Rudy Giuliani is the worst decision Trump ever made? When did I say that? Was it yesterday, guys, or last week? Play clip 2. Let's listen to it again. I want to hear what I said. There's no way Trump can win from that interview, and I believe that Giuliani is misadvising him. And I will tell you why. I think Giuliani was the biggest mistake he has made yet. Giuliani comes from the Southern District of New York, former federal prosecutor, as you know. Giuliani has 1 foot in the SDNY, Southern District of New York, and 1 foot wherever it is, in a security company. I think Giuliani is feathering his own nest, and I would say there's a high likelihood, and I don't know, you're not going to like this. I mean, Giuliani's like, God to most of you. I don't trust him. How do you like that? I think like all men on earth, he's got larceny in his heart, and I think that he's looking out for number one, which is himself, and I think he's feathering his own nest for after it's over. How do you like that? You never heard that before, and you're never going to hear it again from anyone on the conservative side, because Giuliani's like a demigod. But not to me, he isn't. And I think Trump should not listen to him. I was on the air yesterday. I said that this is before the interview last night, where he did such damage to the Trump administration. I don't think it can be. I don't know how it can recover from this. I don't know how he can recover from this. Is G working for or with Mueller to end this, to bring them all down? You know that Wallbanger and G are old friends, don't you know that? Did you know that old Wallbanger and G are old friends? A little birdie tells me that it was Wallbanger who brought G into the White House. Did you know that? You didn't know that either, huh? So let's look at what some defense attorneys who know the big stuff, play the big game, are saying with regard to was Giuliani out to hurt Trump on purpose. Saul Weisenberg, a defense attorney who was a deputy independent counsel during the Starr special counsel investigation into President Bill Clinton, said that the comment, quote, obviously increases the president's exposure to potential campaign finance violations, but it also makes him look terrible, unquote. He goes on and says, I don't understand the Giuliani strategy, he added. Maybe it's been too long since he's been in the criminal justice field. Another attorney named Noble was equally confused by Giuliani's rather bizarre interview on the nail gun. And Noble said, quote, I really don't know why Giuliani said what he did. He made things worse for Trump, unquote. Now, there's another area that I want to go into today, if that's not enough for you, if you're not interested in this. And that is this. Everyone listening to this show loved yesterday's show. They rank it as in the top 5 of the shows that were done over the last number of years, 20 years. They loved the show. I don't know why. I kind of know why. I was in a great mood. I was at KSMO Studios. I was reading from an old article. I was referring to Jack Kerouac on the road. I did a lot of literary stuff, and a lot of millennials love that. And I thought that was a fun part. So it led me to believe that many of you wish you could write a book and dream you could write a book and actually think you will write a book one day. So I'll ask you this second throwaway question, since it's talk radio, which is based upon the woman and the man in the street. If you could write a book, what would it be? What's your story? There used to be a television show or a movie once in the years ago called The Naked City, where they say New York is a city of 9 million, 8 million people, and everyone has a story. What is your story? If you could write a book, everyone thinks they could write a book. Remember the early days when I was a writer, people would say, oh, you're a writer? Well, you hear my story. Well, everyone does have sort of a story to tell. It doesn't mean anyone's interested in it. But everyone is a walking storybook when you think about it. Right? Maybe no one cares, but what is your story? I think that's an interesting segment for the show. Conversation with Giuliani and the nail gun is a question, as it sounded like an FBI wiretap of the Ravenite Social Club. Not a TV interview. It didn't make any sense to me. I have warned others to walk away from that. That guy will lead you down the primrose path for a ratings point, and your life is ruined. That's what happened last night. You think Giuliani's going to be revered for what he did last night? Giuliani's finished. Giuliani is toast. Giuliani's only good for half a bottle of red up at Rayau's after this. Who would hire this guy after what he did last night? I have no idea why he's in the White House. Trump's pretty smart, very smart, 100 times smarter than you might imagine. Why did he let that man near him? I'll never understand. I said it was a mistake when I was in Washington last week. I said it on the air. But remember, I'm only an outsider. I'm not an insider. I don't have a desk in the White House. I don't call the president every night and tell him what to tweet. Did you hear that line? That's a loaded statement. I don't call the president every night and tell him what to tweet because I went past the 9th grade. This is the Savage Nation. 855-407-2822. Let me repeat the questions, boys and girls of the Savage Nation. Is Giuliani hurting or helping Trump? Why did Giuliani throw Kushner to the wolves and say he's disposable? Was Wallbanger leading Giuliani to attack Jared Kushner, and if so, why? Now, many of you don't even understand what I'm saying. Many of you are 2 legs good, 4 legs bad. Many of you remember that Giuliani got rid of the squeegee men, and so therefore he's a demigod in the Republican circles. Please don't call the show. Please save it.
Everybody says
Savage.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
We're asking questions about an astounding interview last night. It sounded like 2 guys being wiretapped by the FBI inside the Ravenite Social Club, which may sound entertaining to you, but the presidency is at stake. And when you have a guy on television who is so desperate for ratings that he would drag a Giuliani in there and basically destroy the presidency without even trying. And Giuliani looked like a lush job to me last night. Didn't know what he was talking about. He fundamentally screwed the president in a way I don't know how the president gets out of this. And never confuse this for 1 minute. I'm a friend of the president. But top defense attorneys don't understand what Giuliani was doing. There was no strategy there. He was just schmoozing. He just came out of a restaurant. He had a nice meal, knocked out a little wine. And he's talking like he's talking to a guy in a living room. They're all so cozy with each other that they forgot what they're talking about and what's at stake. No lawyer on earth would do a thing like that, what was done last night. No one knows why Giuliani said what he said. He made things worse for Trump, not better. Which leads us to ask many questions, not only about him, but about the nail gun. This is not the first time the nail gun has caused a lot of trouble for the president. What do you think about this? Paulina on WABC Line 8, make it quick. Go ahead, please.
Mike, I cannot agree with you more. You're 110% right. When I heard that Giuliani joined the team, I was outraged because the first statement he made that he knows Miller and he's going to arrange the interview, that everybody that knows that it's not supposed to happen.
Right. Remember what I said? Don't ever do an interview with Mueller. Why would Giuliani be leading the president to do an interview with Mueller? Remember? I said the same thing. It was common sense. Don't go before Mueller. You can't win with him.
No. He should be out of the White House. We have the country under siege because the media, the slime Republicans and Democrats hating Trump. And they put this country under siege. We have the illegals defying sitting presidents and still crawling over the border. We have so many things that we have to do and to save our country. And meanwhile, all they want to do is destroy Trump. And what Giuliani did, he gave the media today the things to talk about. They bring this Trump again.
Yes, again, the whore became the topic again. Thank you, Paulina. That's what I see. But that means Giuliani should not be trusted. He shouldn't be used. He should stay. They should keep him away. They should lock the door on him. I don't trust the guy, not because I know him, but because of his activities and his actions that I have seen. Now, maybe you disagree with me, but that's fine. That's what talk radio is about. It's a free country. You can think what you want. WBMQ in Georgia. Greg, line 5, I think it is. It BMQ? Line 5. Go ahead, please, George. Greg.
Hello, Dr. Savage.
Yeah.
Yes, can you hear me?
Go ahead. Yes, talk.
Real quick, and see what you think about it. Look a little bit more. But what always disturbed me about Giuliani, I always liked him, but remember he's running for senator, and when Hillary and him were getting involved, she was getting involved in it, and then he dropped out. And I know he said his reason was prostate cancer, and I understand that. I'm not trying to belittle the man or anything, but since then I've dealt with prostate cancer. I know other men that have, I just didn't see why he couldn't. Again, I don't know his condition, but that always.
All right, I don't want to talk about prostate cancer, sir. I'm sorry that you have prostate cancer. It has absolutely nothing to do with this subject that we are talking about. I don't know what you... Okay, here we go. I knew this would happen. I knew I was culling like the dregs now. I knew the dregs would... I just knew the dregs would call to this. And now you're going to get people supporting Giuliani because they're 2 legs good, 4 legs bad. They can't think. There's no analytical ability. They listen to conservative talk radio. They have no capacity to go beyond what's good and what's bad, and Giuliani's good, everyone else is bad. They can't even think. If you think Giuliani should be trusted, do me a favor. Don't call the show, because I don't. And I'm not taking the call. Tell me why he should be trusted when everyone with a brain says he shouldn't be, and that he screwed the president up pretty bad. Why would I want to say he should be trusted for what? Well, if you got a squeegee problem in Duluth, you could hire Giuliani. He'll get rid of those squeegee men, that's for sure.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282.
Paying some Stormy Daniels woman $130,000, I mean, which is going to turn out to be perfectly legal. That money was not campaign money. Sorry, I'm giving you a fact now that you don't know. It's not campaign money. No campaign finance violation. Funneled through a law firm, and the president repaid it.
Crazy. Now, the ambulance chaser lawyer, Avenatti, who works for the whore, he himself is having a heyday. He said he's stunned by Giuliani's interview. He said, no way, no how Trump finishes his term now. Of course, that's what he wants to happen. He goes on the stupidest man in the history of the media show, Don Lemon. If you had light bulbs in a store and you were shopping for light bulbs, and you had 100 watts, 80 watts, 57 watts, if you found a refrigerator bulb of about 7 watts, that would be about the level of the intelligence of Don Lemon, which is why he's on CNN. But that's what he chose to do, is go on that show. So he goes on the refrigerator bulb show, and he says that Trump cannot finish his presidency. No way, no how, he'll be forced to ultimately resign. This is a bombshell. Earlier on Wednesday, the ambulance chaser lawyer taped an appearance on the disgusting Colbert's Late Show, where he implied there were more women with similar NDAs involving Trump. The ambulance chaser also produced a receipt for Cohen's payment to Daniels' attorneys at the time, which is a shocker to me. I'm looking at this in front of my eyes, a payment receipt from a bank in California, First Republic Bank, San Francisco, California. You know what that now did? Are you ready for this? This now shows involvement with the bank in California. Do you know what that means? That means one of Trump's arch enemies, an enemy of America, an enemy of the wall, an enemy of legal immigration, an enemy of the taxpayer, Xavier Becerra, a friend of the illegal aliens, is the state's attorney general. And now he may have jurisdiction over certain acts associated with this payment. And he could bring charges in California. And Trump could not pardon Cohen for those charges in California. So now you have state attorneys general, such as Mr. Schneiderman in New York, who I understand is also investigating 978 properties that someone owns. Every property will be evaluated. Now you got state attorneys general, you got state attorneys in New York, California. Meanwhile, the world is burning. The world is burning, and we're worried about what a whore did. What a whore with a stripper pole did. And her ambulance chase a lawyer who looks like a pit bull on steroids, which is not a compliment, by the way. If you were to dress up a human being as a pit bull and have him walk on all fours, I would use this lawyer for that role. Let's say at a party, you wanted to have a human being acting like a pit bull. And it's not a compliment, by the way. To me, a lawyer should have some dignity. A lawyer should have some integrity. A lawyer should have some class. This is the opposite of all of that. But what do you think about this? Is it as big a story as I think it is? I know it is. I was not even paying attention to it last night. I was watching again. I got addicted to the show Narcos on Netflix. It's the third night in a row. I'm sorry to admit it. I'm not even leaving the house. I'm becoming a shut-in. The highest production values of any crime drama I've ever seen in my life. I don't even know where they got the budget for this. Every shootout, and Luis Guzman is one of my favorite Latino actors, one of my favorite actors altogether, is astonishing in this thing. So I'm watching it, and I get a call 9 o'clock at night from a friend in the media, top guy. He said, have you seen what happened since you left the air today? I said, no, not interested. He said, please, take a look. I take a look. I said, I don't believe my eyes. You got Giuliani coming out of a dinner somewhere, not, half 6 sheets to the wind, it looks like to me. Maybe 4 sheets to the wind. I used to love that phrase. I never knew what it meant when my father would use it. He was 6 sheets to the wind. That was, again, a nautical phrase. 6 sheets to the wind. You know what that is? Raise your hand if you don't know. That was everyone in the audience. Some of my references are old, but it's a reference to sailors. 6 sheets to the wind. Meaning he's sailing along, flying along, right? Walking on air. He's 10 feet tall. And he goes on, wallbanger, like the two guys in the Ravenite Social Club just rapping along. And they're being bugged. The thing is bugged. They're not doing an interview that you would expect on a national radio or television show. I don't understand the News Corporation. Do they not understand the liability that they now have? Does Murdoch not understand the liability they now have because of this? In my opinion, I just said what my opinion is. This whole thing is spiraling into areas that are completely unknown. WABC Steve, what do you think about Giuliani's astonishingly wrong-headed approach last night on Nail Gun Show?
Well, first of all, anybody, Doctor, who took a high school elective in law knows how lawyers can twist words and take one thing that's said and turn it into something completely different. But when you keep doing these Godfather analogies, the one that really comes to mind is the scene with Tessio at the funeral when he goes over to Michael and says he's going to set up the meeting with Barzini. I got the security handled. It's the same thing here. I don't understand what Giuliani's doing. It's like he's working in cahoots with Mueller here to take Trump.
Bingo. I'm telling you, that's what I smell. People don't understand that Giuliani comes from the Southern District of New York, where he was a U.S. attorney, meaning a prosecutor. Maybe they watched a show on Showtime called Billions, and we know how vicious these guys are. They're worse than the criminals. They'll do anything to indict someone they want to indict. They'll plant evidence. They'll lie. They'll cheat. They'll steal. They're no different than the gangsters that they're indicting in most cases. Do you agree with me on that?
I do.
Okay. So, therefore, now you got the sterling knight in shining armor, Giuliani, goes up there 6 sheets to the wind, and he says things that make Trump look so bad. I don't know how Trump comes back from this. So you ask yourself, why did he do it? He's stupid. He isn't. Why do you think he did it? I personally think his loyalties lie with the Southern District of New York.
When you first put out the tweet about him, that you didn't like this, it smelled bad. At first, I really disagree with you. But as I'm thinking this through more and more, it's hard to believe that as a lawyer he would be this naive as to know that if he sets up this meeting with Mueller and he's going to set up the questions, things could still be misconstrued. So now I'm starting to lean toward what you're saying, that
Well, when I first heard Giuliani was brought in and he wanted Trump to sit down with Mueller, what did I say on this show? No way. No way. 3 hours in front of Mueller, they could indict anyone on earth. The most honest nun could be indicted for perjury under Mueller if she sat down with Mueller. If Mueller took a nun in and sat and talked to the nun for 3 hours, she'd be indicted for something.
I agree totally.
And they get her in some bind where she'd say one thing then another. They'd send the question at her another way, and then so I said, don't do this. But now he goes on the Nail Gun show and he does this. So now let's ask you, you're a guy from New York. You see things in a New Yorker's way. Why would Nail Gun have led him on like this?
Exactly what you said, ratings. He's the type of person that would show his mom dying of cancer on a table to increase his ratings. That's what it is.
That's terrible. I didn't say he would do it. I said there are people in the media would do it. All right, you said it. But,
yeah, I didn't mean to put words. Yes, you're right.
So, Steve, what happens now? Streetwise New Yorker Steve from WABC. We're not alone in our observations. I listened to these two guys talking. It sounds like an FBI wiretap to me. Did they even know they were on television? Are they so cozy that they thought that whatever they said, it was like My Dinner with Andre? Whatever they said, they figured the world would just, oh my God, you're so smart. You're so great. My Dinner with Andre, Giuliani and Nail Gun.
Yep, and they didn't understand the ramifications of what they did, and they don't realize that people just sit there and listen to every word and wait to use it against Trump. There has never been a president in the history of the United States that has been so abused by the media and press as this president.
Yeah, but wait a minute. His good friend Nail Gun just didn't do him any favors here last night, did he?
No, absolutely not. I got.
Do you remember what Nail Gun did to Don Jr., the president's son, about a year ago? And I was screaming on the air, "Get off the air! Don't talk to him again." He got suckered in by Nail Gun. Then, remember?
Yep. I don't know. I just hope Trump's.
It's heartbreaking, is what it comes down to. You heard the Russian woman who called in the beginning. She said you got the illegal aliens sitting on the border, mocking us, mocking our laws, and Don Lemon, the 10-watt bulb, says nothing about that. And then we will focus now on what a whore says.
Yep.
The lowest form of humanity, the whore, with the ambulance chaser lawyer, the pit bull.
This country is so full of imbeciles that we were barely able to pull off this election, and we finally do it, and people who are supposedly on our side are setting our own guy up. It's really sickening.
Well, that's what I'm asking, and I'm going to say something here that should not be misconstrued. We learned this morning, I saw it on the top of the Drudge, that Cohen's lines had been tapped by the FBI. You all saw that, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm not shocked by that. I mean, that they tapped his lines. If they were tapping his lines on a court order, is it possible they have been tapping other lines? Would you say logically it's possible, correct?
Yeah, I would think so.
All right. So they're tapping other lines of people who have intimate relationships with Donald Trump in the White House. So is it a stretch to imagine that a man who boasts about having a desk in the White House, who should be just an independent commentator and not be so close to a president, is it possible he has been tapped?
Absolutely. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's leave that hanging in the air, because I think that there's something's going to come down the line pretty soon that will be such a shock people will have heart attacks when they hear what the actuality is. And when they do, I want them to understand I've been on the receiving end of this cartel for years. They've interfered with everything I've tried to do. It wasn't good enough that they had all the fame, all the power, all the money in the world. They got their pleasure trying to destroy people. Do you understand that they're no different than gangsters, many of them? And the beauty of it is they propose as great conservative Americans. That's the part I love the most.
Great.
That's the part I love the most, that they're somewhat better than the left. All right, well, I'll leave it at that, because going any further than that's going to get us nowhere. Okay, so we got a wiretap now on Cohen, the lawyer. He'll sing like a canary to save himself. But who else was wiretapped? Who else were they wiretapping? They got unlimited power. They got a judge, obviously, who'll sign any writ that they want. They can tap anybody. So we have to assume that someone who's telling the president how to tweet every night might have been listened in on, right? Or is that wrong? Apparently now you know why the tweets are down at the level of a 5-year-old. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
There's big news out there in the world. In the last 2 weeks, Simply Safe won Editor's Choice Awards from CNET Magazine, PC Magazine, and The Wirecutter, 3 very respected product testers. You see, they put Simply Safe through a battery of tests compared to other home security products, and they came out on top every time. Look, Simply Safe protects over 2 million Americans. This is a home security system you actually will want in your home. Sensors are very tiny. You won't notice them. It's unbelievably easy to use. You can control it right from your iPhone. But here's the most important reason. This is not a gadget. It's comprehensive protection for all your windows, all your doors, your entire home, 24 hours a day. And in this world, you need 365 days of protection. Professional alarm monitoring there for you around the clock, $15 a month. Are you kidding me? No contracts. No one else is doing it like this. They're great. Learn more about how Simply Safe can help protect your home. Simple. Go to simplysafesavage.com. Special website, simplysafesavage.com, period, end of story. Now let's go back to the big question of the day. Why did Giuliani say what he said? Was he out to hurt Trump? Is he working the other side of the aisle? Are his loyalties with the Southern District of New York or with the president? There is something wrong with the picture. I warned them on the air not to bring Giuliani in. When Giuliani first came in, right away he said, I'm going to have him sit down with Mueller. I said, oh boy, I smell a rat. Because nobody could sit down with Mueller and come out without a perjury charge. As I said earlier, if Mueller interviewed a nun, a Vestal virgin, after 3 hours he would turn her into a lady of the night. I can guarantee it. So no one would sit down with Mueller and come out clean. So Giuliani, the first thing he starts in with the teeth. He looks like an enraged rabid animal, like a rabid rodent who just had too much wine. And he says things no one can believe. Contradicts Cohen, contradicts Trump. A month after the president told reporters about Air Force One he was not aware of the payment. So you're telling me Giuliani was not out to hurt Trump? I disagree. Brian on line 9, your opinion counts. Go ahead, please.
Well, I'll respectfully take a different view than you have, Dr. Savage. I think that you're right. His remarks might ultimately impact Donald Trump, and they might affect him. But what I suspect is this, is that the raid on the Cohen office produced some diamonds in the rough for the prosecution. And what they effectively concluded, this is the defense lawyers that are now acting for the president, is that they've got to get this information out in drips so that it'll lessen the impact when it ultimately comes out. If there is some type of, report that says that there's obstruction of justice or there's all kinds of shenanigans going on between Trump, the lawyer, and what have you. What you have right now in the United States is a breakdown of the rule of law. It's very clear. It's almost Kafkaesque what's going on in the States. And I'm calling from Canada. I'm actually a defense lawyer. And what I'm seeing, when you see the double standards that are, repeated day in and day out, I mean, I don't disagree with what Giuliani said last night about Comey and the way that he's conducted his, leaks and his misinformation campaigns and his drips.
No, but I'm not interested in Comey right now. I'm interested in Giuliani going on the air and saying things that have no strategy in the long run politically. I mean, maybe politically in the court of public opinion, as you say, but in a court of law, how does that help Trump?
You're going to see in the next few weeks, if not the next month or two, is that the Mueller investigation.
Well, what about them saying that Jared Kushner is disposable with a laugh? Doesn't that indicate to you that there's something going on, like there's a palace coup?
Well, it might indicate that there's information with respect to Kushner that could compromise him.
Oh, wait, that could compromise who?
Kushner.
That could compromise the president?
That's correct. Okay,
so Giuliani was throwing Kushner under the bus in advance of us finding out what that might be. All right, that's why we're talking. Everyone comes up with some interesting points.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Me, a cat, moving in with a new human. It took a little getting used to. She has these weird games she likes to play, like this giant feather. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. It's almost like she thinks I enjoy it. But seeing how much fun she gets out of it, well, I guess it makes it all worth it. Humans.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
So, I'm a dog, and I'm kind of new to this family, but I've noticed a trend. My humans do this thing where they go around and get all my toys and hide them in this basket. But it's always the same basket, and it's always the same place. And then they act so surprised when I find them. But I'm like, hello? That's where you put it last time. Humans are the worst at hide and go seek.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.